In a world that moves too fast, this is your invitation to pause, to explore the space between thought and wonder, where science meets story and emotion meets insight. Here, curiosity is more than a question. It's a way of being. You found your corner of common contemplation. This is nerdy psychology. Stay curious, be kind, and keep your mind nerdy.
Hi, and welcome to Nerdy Psychology. I'm Dr. Angel.
And I'm Bill.
And today we are here to talk about mental health and social media.
Oy vey.
I know. Those are some terms that almost sounds like an oxymoron at times.
It does.
So what would you say, what have you seen some effects from social media and counseling or with people?
Quite a bit. So sometimes what I have seen or found that people feel bad about themselves because they look at their social media feeds and whatnot, and everything looks so wonderful in other people's lives. And I have to point out, like, they're presenting what they want you to see. Don't believe it. Like, and first of all, it's never a good idea to compare yourself. You are where you are, and you're doing the best you can at the moment. But don't always believe the hype. The grass is not always greener. What people are showing you, what they're presenting, and what is really happening, more times than not, they lack a goodness of fit, as we say in the field.
There is truth in there. So I think we can split hairs. So like, I think there are people who like to make things look different than what it truly is, to put that persona and that belief out there that that's the life they're living. So they're not even living the life that they're making you think that they're living, that's making you feel like you're not doing enough.
So no need to feel bad about that.
Right. So it's kind of this whole facade that we're trying to measure up to. And you're right. And what's under that? What costs are they paying? What really happens behind the scenes? Like, we don't know those things, and we're only seeing this good part, but that's because they're controlling the part you get to see. You don't see their hard days, bad days, sad days, disappointments, betrayals, heartaches. And I can tell you, the people that you look at that you think, my gosh, they have it all together, I want to be that person, can be some of the most lonely people, the most insecure people, the most just all kinds of things going on in their space.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but you hear about it all the time. 25-year-old influencer committed suicide here and there. And meanwhile, if you looked at their stuff, you thought they were living their best life at every moment. Another thing I see, Angel, is there's a lot of hatred out there, and it can really grind on your mental health. Yeah, we did a video on stress. It can really increase your stress. And if you're not feeling well, if you're anxious, if you're depressed, buying into that, watching that, and the constant, no matter what your belief is, what side you're on, it's out there. And you have to get away from it.
You absolutely have to. And you're 100% correct. There are a lot of anger, a lot of clickbaiting anger. Like, there's a lot of that out there. And the problem is A, it feeds fear and stress and anxiety in us. B, some of those things aren't even people, they're bots. So we're thinking that all these people think this way, which enrages us even more. And we're on this like emotional roller coaster with all these things that we feel so hopeless and helpless about. And they're feel outside our control. And the truth of the matter is we got to take breaks. We have to stop feeding all that drama in us.
Correct. And they feel outside your control, but they're not. You can stop. You can disconnect from it. You don't have to watch it. There's an agenda to these people creating these things, and you can step away from that.
That's your power and control. And I tell people that all the time. And I had someone say, Dr. Angel, it's kind of like looking at an accident. You know you don't want to look, but you kind of have to. You don't have to. Take a break and give yourself social media breaks. Give yourself media breaks, not just social media breaks, because there are a lot of very divisive, polarizing things being spoken out there.
And Angel, you know what I find curious? Like, people get very irritated with other people, but they're afraid to block. And I'm like, listen, your social media, in my opinion, should be about promotion, enjoyment. What if something is irritating, block it, cut it out. You don't need it there.
You don't have to have it. Unsubscribe, unfollow.
If something, if you feel compelled to speak or comment on a post from someone that you don't know, you're taking it a little too seriously. And maybe you need to step back and see, this person, I don't even know this person. Why is their opinion affecting me so much? And that's something that we would love to talk about in a therapeutic environment, because if you don't know them, their opinion really shouldn't be affecting you that much.
No, that's true. They're taking up a lot of rent, and we say free rent in your head, and that happens, and we get stuck in that thought loop of just replaying that message and stirring up those feelings of anger and all the things. And yeah, there's a lot of people that are saying a lot of things that can be very difficult to see, which is why we have the power to not just unsubscribe and but we can take snooze breaks. I know Facebook's allows you to like hit a snooze for 30 days. So it may be somebody you're close to. They just might have a moment where they're posting things that are upsetting you now. But in 30 days, it may be a different realm. So, and they don't even know that you're doing that. And so, but you need to take the power back.
They have things like dry January. So you can, social media free September, or whatever you may need to clear your head of the cobwebs and the toxicity that can come with it. Because there's a lot good that comes with it, right? Being able to connect with friends across the country and across the world that you haven't seen and whatnot. But you have to be able to siphon the good and the bad.
Well, and that goes into the algorithms really make your experience, like they can kind of control the experience you're having in social media. So when you are finding yourself engaging with a lot of the divisive content, you're going to be fed more of that content to keep you engaged, because that's the whole purpose of it, is your engagement. And so feed what we want to see in our algorithms by looking at those things that you do enjoy. I love following my sports team. I love following cities I want to visit, and my social media is like, those things make me feel good.
Absolutely. And if you find yourself getting irritated and building up, step away.
Stop. Pause.
There is no need to argue with someone you don't know over the internet. I have never once seen any of those arguments has anyone ever said, Angel, that was a good point. I'm going to step back and think about it. No, they curse you out, call you an idiot, call you a name, and you guys are ranting and raving and yelling at each other. You don't even know each other. So what's the point in engaging in that?
Absolutely. We're putting a lot of emotionality into things that aren't helpful or fruitful for us or anybody else. And so another thing I think with social media is that, well, first of all, it consumes a lot of our time. Can you believe people's social media records? I've had people bring me their logs of how much time they spend on social media, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, and then they wonder why they're not feeling well, and they're anxious and they're angry.
And they're feeling lonely and disconnected from people. And so like pay attention to that. I know we're not going to go from seeing it a lot to like not having it, but I tell people, put it in little folders and put all your social medias like in a folder, so they're not like on your home screen, so you have to make an extra step, or put it out of your phone for a while and put it on a laptop, so therefore it's not and you're getting all those notifications, or turn off those notifications, but take intentional breaks. Like when you do it, set timers. So you're not like, I had someone tell me that, they went on the TikTok and they're like, it's going to be there for a couple hours. And like, they lost like 9 hours on the TikTok, like, because it is addicting and it just keeps taking you down that space. And so set timers for yourself, so you're giving it what you want to give it.
Absolutely. And we talked in another video about mindfulness. So what mindfulness is, it's just being in the moment where you are. So if you're out to dinner with your significant other, be out to dinner. There's no point in being on your social media there. That's a time to connect and enjoy yourself with the person that you're connected with in your life. If it's story time with your kids, be in the present with that. They're going to remember those times. Oh, mom and dad, they were reading with me, or yeah, you were on your phone. Had a person who's supposed to be teaching their child to drive, but was on their phone the whole time. And the kid brought it up in session. Well, you're supposed to be helping me drive, but you're on your phone the whole time. So You can be on your phone at another time, be in the moment with your child at that time. They're learning. These are life lessons they're going to learn and move forward.
100%. Do you think social media makes having boundaries more easier or more difficult, or?
Seems to make it more difficult would be my immediate answer, because first of all, like, people are posting everything that they do every minute of their life. This is what I'm having for breakfast. I'm on the way to the gym now. So so they're in that view in your life is a diffuse boundary as it is.
Right.
And then the ability for people to say negative things. The more you post, it seems, the more you're opening yourself up to someone taking a shot at you, and then how that affects you.
Right, because feeling judged.
Correct.
Or do they like the number of people that are looking all the time? Like, they didn't like this, but people didn't like my post. And then they feel that like rejection, like they're being rejected as a human because their posts aren't getting the likes that they thought it would get. And so that can really hit our self-esteem when we're constantly chasing other people's approval, basically, is what that is. Their likes, their comments.
Right. And then the part of self-esteem is it's self-esteem. So is someone clicking a button on their computer that you don't know in Iowa really affecting your self-esteem? You wouldn't know them if you bumped into them. That's when you need to take a step back and say, wow, it's taking over a little bit too much of my life.
Yeah, it can definitely help us. We lose our identity, I think, sometimes within all these things. We're bombarded. It used to be that it was, magazines were the thing that was that illusion of what people thought reality was. And we were able to see that distance, that really those people were airbrushed and they really didn't look like who they were portrayed to look like in a lot of spaces. But now it's like regular people. It's not just celebrities.
Correct. Yeah, the regular people are photoshopping in their abs. So you think the car salesman who works 80 hours a week is still jacked and has a six pack, but it's not real. I'm not saying that it can't be real, but don't, just because you see it, don't believe it.
That is true. And now living in a world of, AI, that even makes what's real more difficult to know.
Absolutely. And they're tailoring it, and they're digital creators is what they call themselves, right? And they're making a living off that. But Angel said in another video that you're giving them free rent in your head, and you really don't need to do that.
No, we do not need to be giving them that space in our head, because we need it for ourselves, and we're feeling bad about ourselves, our life. I can't tell you the number of people that I talk to that just say, like, they feel like they're just not measuring up, like they're not doing enough. They see people they went to high school with or college with or cohorts in work or whatever, and they're like thinking they're so much further ahead than them, and then they feel like it's impossible and there's something wrong with them and they just can't do it. And you have yourself defeated before you try.
Yeah, and you have to rethink what does ahead mean to you. If you mapped out your whole life when you were 19, of course it's not going to look like that, because you don't even know anything at 19. So you can always do better. That's our motto in treatment. But don't compare yourself to anyone else, because A, what you're seeing on social media is likely not the reality. And B, really, what is ahead is keeping up with the Joneses. So the neighbor got a Cadillac, so I have to get a Lincoln. But what does the neighbor's car have to do with me?
That's very true. And I think that curiosity is important for us to kind of break some of that cycle. Like, we have been so ingrained with this comparison model that why? Like, take ourselves out for a moment, just a moment, and look at yourself. Like, compare yourself to you. That's what I tell people all the time. The only person you can compare yourself with is yourself, because there's no other human who has lived all of your experiences, had all the things that you've had, obstacles, good things, support. There's no other human who's had everything that you've had but you. Even if you have a twin sibling, there's still differences in those experiences. And so when we're comparing ourselves to others, it's not a fair comparison. It's not equal.
When you come to therapy, we're never comparing you to other clients. Our goal is to help you to be the best version of yourself. So what we really like to see is when that's your goal as well. And that does not include comparing yourself to anyone else, because it's a losing game. If you look at yourself that way, you're always going to affect your self-esteem because you're always going to think there's someone better, more money, better looking, in better shape, with a better family, whatever that means. So just be the best version of yourself.
And then that's all we can ask for, right? Doing the
Absolutely.
best we can with where we are and what we have. I'll tell you too, with social media, one of the things that I find kind of as a personal annoyance is that the misuse of therapy terms in social media comments or content, where they're throwing out terms like narcissism and gaslighting and all these terms, and they're being used completely out of context and inappropriate. And then people want to adapt this in their everyday language, and they're coming in. And I'm like, that's not exactly what that is.
Correct. And that's commonplace now in the news. No matter what, they throw out these terms. If you don't believe this, you're a narcissist. No. So when there's a difference between being self-assured or even cocky and being a narcissist.
Absolutely.
Just like there's a difference between being nervous and anxious. There's a difference between being sad and depressed. And anyone who's actually felt the latter, depression, they know the difference. So, but when we water these terms down, when we misuse them.
Yeah. And social media has definitely, I think, had a big impact on watering these terms down. I think over the last few years, almost every person that I talk to that has had a difficult relationship, romantic relationship, and broken up with somebody, they're always a narcissist in their conversation. And that's just not how that works. That's not, we can have people that make us angry and that we don't get along with, but that does not make them necessarily a narcissist.
Not a trait, not being self-centered. It's far more than that. It's impairing your life, and you still are not stopping doing it.
Yes, very true. And people can have traits that we don't want to have in our space in our life.
Like, we all do.
That's just it. We're not going to get along with everyone, but it doesn't mean there's a mental health diagnosis that goes behind those words. And so I feel like those words really add to the stigma that we see in therapy, because now they're common words that most people have in their vernacular that are used completely inappropriate and out of context.
Correct. We as therapists don't want the words cheapened because they mean a lot to us. So when we see someone who is a narcissist or whatnot, it's a different ball game.
Yes. And so if you're the one on social media and you're listening to a content creator and they're telling you this symptom and this symptom and this symptom means you have this diagnosis, go seek professional guidance and let a professional assess that if you have that, if you're really concerned about that, because it has cost people so much money over the years, at least over here, of coming in and believing they had a diagnosis that they absolutely did not have because a content creator said they did because they do these symptoms.
Don't buy it just because someone's trying to sell you on that on their digital page if they're not one of the experts.
Absolutely. And it needs to be an expert that has had knows you personally, not just another expert putting something out for general content. Like, those evaluations are very personal. This is not about getting online and filling out a checklist of, oh my gosh, these are the symptoms. If you could use checklists, we didn't need to go to college for all those years.
Correct. Right. And just so you know, it's 8 years to get licensed if you do it as fast as you can. And it took me longer because I couldn't do it as fast as I can, because you need to find a clinical supervisor and all that. But it's 8 years if all your ducks are lined up. That's a little bit longer than someone who's giving you a checklist on Instagram.
Yes, it is. It is. And there's a lot that happens. So if you have concerns, go talk to a professional, not content creators. And if you're feeling overwhelmed with social media, or if you're just feeling bad about yourself, just take some breaks. Reduce your time. You owe yourself to feed the good things in your life. We're so busy feeding everyone else's life in our life that we're not even living our own life.
What you feed grows, what you starve dies. And if taking a break doesn't help, contact the office.
Absolutely. Well, this has been Dr. Angel.
And Bill.
And we'll see you next week. Until then, stay curious, be kind, and keep your mind nerdy. That's a wrap.
You found your corner of common contemplation. This is nerdy psychology. Stay curious, be kind, and keep your mind nerdy.